Thank you for another day. If you're here, stay with me until the end. There's grace waiting for you in this moment. When your mind won't stop racing, you wake up tired, even after a full night's sleep. Your heart beats faster, your thoughts jump from one worry to the next, and it feels like peace is just out of reach. Maybe you've tried everything, distractions, solutions, overthinking every step, but nothing slows it down. It's in moments like these that Psalm 46:10 speaks louder than anything else. Be still and know that I am God. Notice the order. Be still, then know. Stillness isn't a reward you get after everything is fixed. It's the place where you meet the one who already holds the answers. Peace doesn't come from figuring it all out. It comes from surrendering it all to Him. Right now, you don't need more control. You need more trust. Let Him carry what you can. Take a deep breath. Close your eyes. Not everything will change in a moment, but you can. Stillness is where clarity begins because God never speaks over your noise. He waits for your silence. Let go. Let God. Thank you, Lord, for another day. If you found this message, I invite you to stay until the end, because there's grace prepared for your heart right here when you're waiting on a breakthrough. There's a kind of silence that can feel heavy. You've prayed, you've believed, you've done what you could, and still nothing seems to move. Days stretch into weeks, doors stay closed, answers don't come, and deep down, you wonder if maybe you've been forgotten. But the truth is, waiting is not punishment, it's preparation. Psalm 46:10 reminds us, "We'll be still and know that I am God." It doesn't say be busy or figure it out or push harder. It says be still. Because stillness isn't inactivity, it's surrender. In that quiet space, God is building something in you that couldn't grow any other way. He's stretching your faith, refining your character, and aligning your heart with His timing. You're not stuck, you're being still, and that's sacred. Breakthroughs don't always come in the form we expect, and they rarely come on our schedule. But the waiting room? That's where faith grows. That's where trust is born. And when it's time, not a second too early or too late, what He promised will unfold. So stay faithful, stay grounded, and know, the silence doesn't mean He's absent. It means He's near, doing something deeper. When life feels too loud, it's easy to believe that God is distant, that He's not speaking, or that He's somehow gone quiet in your moment of need. But what if the noise isn't from Him? What if it's just the world trying to drown Him out? We live in constant motion, deadlines, notifications, expectations, and somewhere in that chaos, our hearts begin to crave something deeper. Not more noise, not more answers, just Him. The truth is, God doesn't compete for attention. He doesn't shout over the distractions. He whispers in the quiet. And that's why stillness isn't optional for your soul. It's essential. You don't need to escape your life to find peace. You need to create space to listen. Because the clearest direction, the deepest comfort, and the strongest reassurance often come not in the moment you're striving, but in the moment you finally stop. So if everything around you feels overwhelming, pause. Close your eyes. Breathe. He's already there waiting to meet you in the silence. Not with pressure, not with demands, but with presence. The world is loud, but His peace is louder. You don't have to figure it all out. You just have to be still and know. When anxiety tries to take over, everything inside you wants to do something. Fix it, fight it, figure it out. Your mind runs in circles, your chest tightens, and peace feels like a far-off dream. But here's the truth, stillness isn't weakness. It's not giving up. It's choosing to surrender to the one who's never lost a battle, not even the silent ones inside your soul. There's a difference between quitting and laying it down. One comes from fear, the other from faith. And when you choose to be still, you're not ignoring the storm. You're inviting God into it. You're saying, I don't have to carry this alone. I was never meant to. That posture of surrender isn't passive, it's powerful. Because it's in that place, where your strength ends and His begin, that healing starts to take root. So the next time anxiety starts to rise, don't just reach for control. Reach for Christ. Pause. breathe, whisper his name, and let him carry what was never yours to hold. Stillness won't stop the storm, but it will anchor your heart through it. Lay it down. Let him lift it. He's never too far, and he's always strong enough. When you're tired of trying to fix everything, it's often because you've been carrying weight that was never yours to bear. You care deeply. You step in. You hold things together for your family, your friends, your future. But in the process, you end up stretched thin, exhausted, and wondering if anything you're doing is actually enough. Here's the truth you need to hear today. It's not all yours to carry. And that's not failure. That's freedom. Some battles are not meant to be fought with clenched fists, but with open hands. Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It means giving it to God. It means trusting that while you rest, He's still working. That while you pause, He still protects. That while you release control, He remains in complete control. And there's no safer place for your burden than in the hands of the one who already overcame the world. There's power in surrender. There's healing in stillness. And there's peace in finally admitting, God, I can't fix this. But you can. So today, take a breath. Set it down. Whatever it is, the pressure, the outcome, the fear of what happens next, it doesn't have to stay on your shoulders. You were never meant to be the savior, just the son, just the daughter. Let Him take it from here. When you feel like God is silent, it's easy to assume the worst, that you've been forgotten, that your prayers hit the ceiling, that maybe you did something wrong. Silence can be unsettling. We crave signs, answers, direction, and when none come, the silence feels like distance. But here's a deeper truth. His silence is not absence. It's an invitation. God isn't ignoring you. He's inviting you to slow down, quiet the noise, and lean in. Because sometimes the answer we need isn't in the miracle we're waiting for, but in the stillness we've been avoiding. In a world constantly screaming for attention, stillness becomes sacred. It's in the quiet moments that His whisper is the loudest, but we have to be still enough to hear it. If God is silent, maybe it's because He's about to speak in a way that doesn't sound like anything you've heard before. Not in a booming voice or dramatic sign, but in the peace that suddenly settles where there was once chaos. In the clarity that comes when you finally stop striving. In the gentle reminder that His presence doesn't always shout. It often whispers. So if you're in a quiet season, don't rush through it. Don't fill the silence with fear. Fill it with faith. Make room for His whisper. Because even when you don't hear Him, He's still near. And sometimes the silence is where you'll find Him the most. When you're overwhelmed with decisions, it's tempting to rush for answers, to weigh every option 1,000 times, to fear making the wrong move. The pressure builds from expectations, deadlines, voices around you, and the ones in your own head. It can feel like every path holds a risk, and every delay feels like failure. But that's where the power of stillness becomes your greatest guide. God never intended for you to make every decision on your own. His word reminds us that wisdom doesn't come from chaos, it flows from peace. Still hearts hear divine direction. That doesn't mean you sit back and do nothing. It means you pause long enough to hear what truly matters. To quiet the noise of fear and let faith speak. To stop asking everyone else and start listening to Him. Sometimes the most spiritual thing you can do in a moment of indecision is breathe, be still, and invite God into the space between your options. Because He sees what you can't. He knows what's ahead. And when your heart is quiet before Him, He leads not with confusion, but with clarity. So if your mind is racing and your heart is heavy with choice, choose this first. Stillness. Lay every question at His feet. Let go of the rush. And listen for the one who knows your next step before you even ask. Wisdom isn't found in the noise. It's found in the still. When emotions cloud your vision, everything starts to blur. Your thoughts, your judgment, even your faith. Anger, fear, grief, frustration. They all rise like waves in a storm, crashing over your clarity and peace. In these moments, it's easy to react instead of reflect, to move ahead without direction, or to feel paralyzed by the weight of what you feel. But God, in His mercy, doesn't just wait for the storm to pass. He meets you in it. He doesn't always calm the situation first, He calms you. God calms storms, but first He calms you. That calm is not the absence of emotion, it's the presence of trust. Stillness doesn't mean your feelings disappear. It means they no longer drive your decisions. It's in the quiet surrender, the deep breath, the whispered prayer, the still heart, that God does what only He can, bring order to chaos and light to confusion. You were never meant to figure it all out while drowning in emotion. You were meant to anchor yourself in the one who sees beyond the moment. When your eyes can't see clearly, His never lose focus. When your heart feels too heavy to carry, He offers rest. So take a breath, not because the storm is over, but because you know who stands with you in the middle of it. Let your emotions rise, but don't let them rule. Be still. He's already here, and He brings the peace your heart's been reaching for. When everything feels out of your hands, it's easy to believe things are falling apart. You try to hold it all together, the plans, the people, the pressure. But no matter how tightly you grip, it keeps slipping through. The truth is, you were never meant to carry what only God can control. And while it might feel like you've lost your grip, what's really happening is this. You're being led into a moment of holy surrender. That's exactly where God does His best work. Not when you're in charge, not when you've got it all figured out, but when you've come to the end of yourself. That's where grace meets you, that's where trust begins. Letting go isn't giving up, it's giving in to a higher plan, one that was never dependent on your strength to begin with. Sometimes God allows what's in your hands to fall so you'll reach for His. Sometimes He lets the plans unravel so He can rewrite them in a way that brings Him glory and brings you peace. What's out of your control isn't out of His reach. This is not the end. This is the opening, a sacred pause where He steps in and takes over. So don't panic. When it feels like it's all too much, be still, let go, let God, because He never loses what you place in His hands. When all you can do is nothing, it can feel like failure. You're used to fixing, fighting, and figuring things out. But there comes a point where your strength runs dry, your answers fall short, and your efforts feel like dust in the wind. And in that moment, when there's nothing left to do but be still, you wonder if that's enough. The truth? It is. Because sometimes stillness is the strongest thing you can offer Him. It's in the stillness that trust is tested. It's where faith proves it isn't built on outcomes but on obedience. It's where you stop striving and start surrendering, not because you've given up, but because you've given it to Him. Sometimes God doesn't need your hands to move. He just wants your heart to trust. There is power in waiting. There is strength in the silence. And there is victory in stillness. God doesn't need noise to work. He doesn't need motion to move. He's not waiting for you to hustle. He's waiting for you to believe. When you stand still, anchored in faith, refusing to run ahead or fall apart, you're doing more than you think. You're declaring, I trust you even here. So don't underestimate this moment. Don't resent the pause. This stillness, it's sacred. It's the space where God moves the most. Faith doesn't always run. Sometimes it stays, and that's more than enough.